Riddle me this. Renault can put a baguette holder in the new Renault 5, but Alpine can't even give you somewhere to hold your coffee. And French people love coffee. Anyway, that bit of info aside, this is the 220 brake horsepower GTS version of the A290, which is, yes, fully electric, but also fully hot hatch, in my opinion. Type of car, it's hard not to look at and go, man, that's cool. You've got the rallycross headlights on the front, Alpine, just in black over here. Nothing overly fussy apart from these, and there's a bit of a nod to the Renault 5 with the design and the teardrop duct on the lights, but there's also the French flag in the headlight unit, and again more of the cross sign in the headlight itself. So very purposeful and menacing on the nose, I think. I don't think I've ever reviewed a car where there's no door bins in the rear doors, but maybe that's Alpine's way of saying, yeah, like, we have rear seats, but we just did it because we had to. You know, leg room, not exactly in abundance. But I do like the design of the seats in this version. Some of the higher spec versions get the specific Michelin Pilot Sport tyre, 19-inch, so much grip. Question is, 300 Newton meters of torque going through the front wheels. How quickly will you go through a set of them? I think it needs the Alpine blue to do the car justice, but this matte grey finish is also nice. We have 100 kilowatt DC charging in here. Charging curve today tested, battery was about 60% state of charge, so I wasn't expecting 100, and I was sharing one of those faster charges. Anyway, the charging curve stayed at about 70 for a little while, but once we got past sort of mid-60s, it trailed off quite a bit. So that's worth bearing in mind. Roofline has this blue strip around the top of it with the black contrasting finish, and then you've got the flared arches, the grooves in the doors, the massive side skirts. Boot is a little over 300 litres. You have this ducktail spoiler on the back of this. The rear lights are obviously very, very similar to the Renault 5. If you get the GTS version, some have the upgraded sound system. That will eat a bit more into your boot space. So you're talking 320-ish litres, maybe closer to 300 if you have that upgraded system. It's a fine boot for the segment of car. Nothing to write home about. It's not really what this car is about though. And when you walk up to it, the doors open automatically. What I love is when you walk away from it, see Alpine, does this cool noise. Do like this touch, so you have this challenge G meter for agility. You can see the power being used, the engine speed or motor speed, endurance mode, and there is also a track mode, which even gives you the temperature of the tyres. Now, I mean, sometimes you need to be in a Lamborghini for that level of detail. That's very cool. As soon as you sit in, you do notice differences. You've got the regen mode down here, the mode for the engine motor as well. A nice steering wheel, very chunky. You've got the overtake boost button on it, 3 gear modes, which you'll find in lots of Alpine cars. And the screen, the physical buttons that are very useful, very functional, remain from the Renault 5, but there's also plenty of Alpine touches splashed around on the dashboard, the seats, and indeed just beside the armrest also. But again, no cup holders. What I think is kind of cool, because normally in a specialist car like this, there's maybe 1, 2 at most different trim options. But actually, with this Alpine, there's quite a few. The entry version A290 GT with 180 brake horsepower is €36,690. Next up is the A290 GT Performance with 220 brake horsepower for €38,990, with the A290 GTS, pretty much the car that's in this video, costing €42,500. As you can see from the slides, the A290 GT Performance version gets the Alpine Performance Pack, the high performance tyres, and the Alpine front wing logo. logo as well as other features. You need to go for the A290 GT Premium to get things like the Alpine leather seats with lumbar adjust and the upgraded sound system. From what I can see, the A290 Premier Edition, which is quite a bit more, still gets 220 brake horsepower, but for the most part gets the addition of a lot of ADAS safety systems which may not be of interest to you anyway. Indeed, the version you're watching in the video today still has a heated steering wheel, wireless phone charging and the 19-inch glossy black snowflake alloys. A lot of the Renault 5 cars in Ireland didn't have lane keep assist. This does, and you can turn it off, funny enough, if you don't want to use it, but it does come with it, just so you're aware. I haven't driven the 180 brake horsepower version. I've obviously driven the 150 Renault 5, but this 220, 300 newton meters of torque, just shy of 1500 kilos. Yes, the more time I've spent with the car, I do have the opinion that it is a lot of power to get through the front wheels with that torque. And the result is, even from relatively low speeds, you are having to hold onto that wheel. It could be very interesting in colder, slippier roads months, I'd imagine. I've seen reports saying this car is, good for 300 or so kilometers. Maybe in really hot weather, and maybe if you don't drive it as Alpine intend you to drive it. I'm seeing 19.2 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. That to me is suggesting about 250. Which is, okay. You can charge it at home for very, very little. Would you get, 400 or 500 kilometers out of a Golf GTI driving that hard? Yes, but it's whatever it is, 180 something currently for a litre of juice. So it's still going to be cheaper. But as an owner in the past of Audi S3s, Golf GTIs, can I actually compare to those cars? Some of the driving dynamics, yes. It feels planted, it's relatively grippy, it's got that lovely nose power of a front wheel drive hot hatch that just wants to go, that wants to turn in. It is missing the excitement of the gear changes. Obviously a manual box. In fact, if anyone out there has something like a Golf GTI Club Sport that's a couple of years old and you're happy for it to be featured on the channel, give me a shout, because I think that could be an interesting comparison. You could buy a 3, 4, 5-year-old Golf R at this stage for the same price as this car. It will have more grip. Will it look as dramatic though? I don't know, because a Golf R just looks like a Golf, apart from the quad exhaust and maybe the Pretoria alloys, but you know what I mean, and the silver mirrors. This certainly stands out, which I guess is definitely a part of hot hatch ownership. In sport mode, you get this gear noise that just keeps going. Now, under wheel hop and wheel slip, it will die off a bit, but it just keeps getting louder and louder. I would love it to have some Ioniq 5N gear change noises, and the brakes are very, very, very impressive. I didn't mean to spill everything there, but you want to know this thing can stop, and yeah, this is a very straight road, and yes, it can stop. I mean, it does induce smiles. No denying that. You have the overtake button that just gives you a little bit more boost. It doesn't increase the horsepower or anything like that, but just a little bit more urgency. Coming into a bend, too hot, too fast for a normal car, not a bother on it. Totally grips to that road. When you brake, you hear that synthetic noise wind down the other way. Yeah, I mean, it is fun. I think you just need to change your expectations as to what a petrol hot hatch would feel like, because it's not necessarily a heavier car, but lovely bit of grip there into a bend. But there is a little bit of body roll. It's quite hard to find it though. Brilliant levels of grip. Torque steer aside, these Michelin Pilot Sports are doing their job. It's a car that I would love to put onto a track and see what it can do, but and you know, higher speeds, it gets a little bit bumpy and jittery, as you'd expect a firmly tuned suspension like this to be, which, by the way, is a 90% different suspension to the standard Renault 5. They've done huge levels of tweaks to it. So yeah, you could say in some ways it's the same car, but in many ways aside, it isn't. Oh, that was fun. That type of driving has made the fuel efficiency get slightly worse. I've gone from a 19.2 to a 19.4. It does kill the power a little bit just to help with traction, get around there. The amount of bugs I have on the screen compared to 5 minutes ago. Let's use that overtake button now and see what it's like. Overtaking is brisk. It seems mad that you have to get the top spec to get blind spot in the mirrors. Don't understand that one at all. It's not like you're not spending lots of money in the first place. Quite a bit of wind noise over the A-pillars. I found that in the Renault 5 as well. You know, the physical design of the car is not that different. But it is a lot of fun. I like it. It gives you a feeling of hot hatchness. I definitely think the engine sounds that they've done in the Ioniq 5N. If you haven't seen that car, I'll leave my review of it at the end of this video, actually, because you'll get to hear the gear changes. And I know the skeptic in you will be like, oh, you can't, but they have done a phenomenal job in that car. It is quite a lot. It's quite a bit more expensive though than this is. You're topping out below mid-40s in this, and it's undoubtedly a lot of money, and the Renault 5 and the highest spec will be probably more than enough. But I think it is a real petrol head who's going to be interested in this car. They're not going to sell tons of them, but if you're, you know, if you got sick and tired of putting 100 quid into a Golf GTI or a Golf 4 every few days, this could be an alternative. A different type of car, but an alternative nonetheless. Like, I genuinely have a feeling of excitement having driven like that. Yeah, interesting little car. Ultimately, the A290 is a car I'm glad exists in the world. Does it always have the shadow of the Renault 5? It does. And it's a lot of fun, but for 90% of the time, you'll probably get the same level of thrills in the top spec Renault 5. Get it in yellow and never look back, in my opinion. But if you're someone who just likes that edge a little bit more, and you don't mind paying the quite substantial increase on the price, particularly in this trim version, the entry one of the A290 is not too bad. It's not too big a jump. But yes, electric cars can be fun, no doubt about it. I'll have the A110, the updated version on the channel very soon. That has a petrol engine and doesn't have any rear seats. So subscribe to the channel if you're interested in more Alpine content. And if you've come this far, if you've watched the ads, if you've helped support the channel, really do appreciate it. I'll see you next time.